Uh, yes, I think so.
Okay.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of 5 o'clock. Today is a good day, it's a beautiful day, and I'm happy to have you here with us again. Today, we'll be talking about mental health as it affects our lives. Before we go ahead, let me just tell you a little bit about 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock is a faith-based forum with a mission to equip and encourage individuals to live life at its best, to live beyond just surviving, to thrive in everything that pertains to life and godliness. So you can assist in this mission by liking our page and sharing with your friends and families. Tell somebody about this broadcast and let somebody know about their mental health and be blessed by it. Today, we are having a mental health talk, like I said, and our topic is coming out of lockdown, looking up. We couldn't have had a more qualifying guest to fill this seat this afternoon or evening than Dr. Tola, and I will tell you why shortly. Dr. Tola, thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, so let me tell you a little bit about her, our guest. Our guest is Dr. Tola T. Sarumi. She's a medical doctor, a licensed psychiatrist, an addiction specialist at Mass General Brigham McLean Hospital. She is also a faculty member of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School. She's very passionate about stigmas associated with mental illness. She's a recipient of numerous awards for her work on alcohol use disorder, physician suicide, a silent epidemic. So you see why I say we are blessed to have her here. She featured in Medscape, the Canadian Medical Journal, American Association of Publishing Leadership, the American Journal of Addiction, Health e-Careers, the Washington Post, Thrive Global, and on podcast shows. She's a sought after expert and mentor on addiction, substance use disorder, and physician suicide. You can find her online at www.drtola.com. And you can also see her strolling the streets of Boston with her husband and her adorable twin children. Her social media handle, she's on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter as well. Her social media handle will be pinned in the comment section. So thank you again for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, thank you. I'm so excited to be, and I love the topic, coming out of a lockdown, looking up. I think that's amazing because there's just so much happening.
Yes, yes, there is a lot happening this time. And let me tell you a little bit about the topic. It's coming out of lockdown, looking up. You know, it's been quite a challenging and life-changing year for all of us. Like Dr. Tola rightly said, there's a lot happening. When you are asked to describe the past 1 year with just one word, we will hear a lot of things. We hear some people who say it's coronavirus, it's lockdown, it's school shutdown, it's working from home, it's death of people, and all that. And a 12-year-old poet wrote this about last year. I'm just going to read some of it out. She said, we made plans unaware of the coming storm. When the rain came, some were lucky to find an umbrella. Some just stood stiff as if it was still sunny. Some soaked it in and dissolved, living from this world. The people left behind couldn't feel their own tears as it was still pouring. The raindrops erased the tear marks as if nothing ever happened. Can you imagine that coming from, a child? That is her own outlook of what year 2020 has been. And
Mm.
to be sincere about everything, humankind has had to stop literally. We had to go against basic human instincts, which is socialize, socialize, socialize. You all know we love to socialize. The usual hugs and kisses to loved ones, that handshake to close the business bill and deal, the hand joining in fellowship to form firm bonds. How about, the parties, going to events and socializing with our friends and families? All these have had to change in the past year, in year 2020, and we're still feeling the effect today. So now I will ask you, Dr. Tola, how has life been for you as a psychiatrist, as someone who supports people with mental health difficulties? What has been your observations in the past 1 year?
Yeah, so like you rightly said, it's been a year, unprecedented, challenging in many ways. No one could have fathomed or thought how far, you had, like, the poet actually said, you had plans and had no clue that a storm was, brewing. And
Yes.
so for us as mental health specialists, I mean, I don't think not anything could have prepared us other than the fact that we already knew before the pandemic, we were already in an epidemic with addiction, opioid use disorders. And these were the challenges we're actually facing ahead already. And now to then add on the pandemic on top of it, it was like, oh my goodness. Because so we were already getting overwhelmed, and you can just add on, of course, during that first phase, people were like, oh my God, what do I do? My patients, those who are in recovery, those, everything, because everything became to stand still. So for us as psychiatrists, there's definitely been a significant increase in, just a brawl of patients just storming into our offices, into the hospital. A lot of people were dealing with, anxiety that they could not explain, the feeling they couldn't explain. They just were not themselves, depression at an almost high, there was loss, grief, like just isolation, like we talked about, social life literally came to a halt. And so these are the kind of things we were seeing. So there was increased suicide, increased suicidal ideations, self-harm injuries, as well as addictions, so even those who had no issues prior to the pandemic find themselves in a state, oh my goodness, what is going on? What am I feeling? And because they can identify the words, they show up, present with all the symptoms, and we're able to, like, sort of identify what it is they're actually going through. So what is, what are they saying, and put it in layman terms, like, okay, this is what you're feeling and this is the reason why. So yes, and for us, it's definitely been an increase. It's been a very, very busy time. I'm not even sure we have enough psychiatrists or mental health specialists at this point in time. Just, just thinking about, we're now in the slightly, I would call, a post-COVID. So there's still the aftermath of COVID, and so we're already very busy at this point. So it's definitely a very busy field at this point in time, for any mental health specialist. So
Yeah, I really can imagine that. Or maybe I cannot even imagine how busy you guys will be at this time. Like you rightly said, you said it's like an epidemic upon, it's a pandemic upon an epidemic that's already happening. So you guys have already started seeing a surge in number of presentation with depression, anxiety, and all. And then boom, this pandemic happened, and then the number has to, double up and that. So when you made a list, you made a quick mention of some of the cases, some of the mental issues that you guys usually see during the pandemic. And I heard you say something about depression. So now my question is, what is depression exactly? What does that mean?
yeah, so that's a very good question. Depression is just, it's a common but very serious mental illness. It affects how we think, how we act, and of course, our behaviors, our feelings, all of this that comes into play. So we find ourselves in a position where there are significant stressors. We're not able to manage and tolerate them well. We become very irritable. We become very slow in the things we do, difficulty sleeping. Sometimes it affects our weight. They could be increase or decrease. And when we talk about sleep, it could actually either increase or decrease your sleep. There's just disturbance in everything, your mood, how you feel about that. There's just a guilt feeling. You're just not able, there's just no pleasure, like no joy in everything you do. Even if things that would normally make you excited and happy, and you're just finding yourself just literally despondent, very, just in a place where it's despair all around you. So like you cannot find any element of joy, in anything. So like it now begins to affect your way of life. It affects your relationship with your family, with your loved ones, in your occupation, and in everything, your social life. You guys begin to isolate yourself, and go into different, sometimes you end up with like coping skills that are more harmful than helpful. And this is the kind of things we see with depression. I always like to say, when you think about it, depression is a thief, right? It steals your
Mm-hmm.
time, it steals your health, your intimacy, your energy, your fun. It's still
Wow.
a big thief. Yeah.
Wow, that is so deep. You said depression can be described as a thief. It steals, virtually everything about you. It steals your joy, it steals your time, it steals your time with loved one, it steals your progress in life. And
Absolutely.
so this is the reason why we have to stop it. We have to actually look at depression in the eye, if that is possible, and say, stop. You're not gonna, get a hold of my life. So when you're trying to describe depression, it was coming up as if it's a feeling of sadness or unhappiness.
Mhm.
And I know most people have had, times during the past 1 year or even before that when you felt sad.
Yes.
You got a bad report, you were sad. So is sadness the same or different from depression? And how are we going to differentiate that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So sadness and depression, they're not the same, but they tie into each other. So you start off feeling sad, right? Something happens, maybe you lost your job and you're sad about it, and then sometimes maybe you now apply for a couple of jobs and you're still not getting an interview, right? You now
Yeah.
continue to stay in this low level of state of just sadness. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh, is it even worth it? Do I need to
Mm,
wake up this morning and even get dressed or start, interviewing again? And then before you know, you're turning around in bed and you just continue to sleep, right? Or
yes.
you just, at that point you're like, oh, I can't even deal with this. I need to go get a drink and just keep drinking. And before you know it, you're getting into an addiction issue there, or substance or harmful way of coping. Or at that point, you're just like, oh, the children, who's children? I can't even think about my children at this point.
Mm,
Or relationships, it's almost like, oh honey, we have our this outing this coming up this weekend, and you're like, I'm not interested. So it begins as sadness, but it escalates quickly to a state of depression when you're not able to come out of that state of sadness. Nothing is able to kind of fine tune and get you out of that, draw you out from that despondency that you're feeling, and then you now get to a state of, well, there isn't anything worth it anymore. I mean, what is the point of even living? So then we're now saying that, and there's a period of time that typically passes for us to say that now you do qualify as somebody who has depression, right?
yeah.
So these are like kind of things we begin to see when we're talking about, well, I could be sad today. Well, maybe I was expecting a phone call. I didn't get a call and I was sad about it. But tomorrow I'm able to jump up and say, oh, let's go. I'm going to hang out with
Yeah.
my friends. I'm going to hang out. I'm going to do fun activities. That's what we see with sadness. But with depression, it lingers on, and then you begin to affect all the things that are, important in your lives, even including your self-care.
Thank you very much for that clarification. From what you've been able to explain, I found out that it depends on the time, the timeline of either sadness or depression. So depression it can start from sadness, but if you allow sadness to linger on, it will or can lead to depression.
Totally.
That's a very good one. Thank you so much.
Sure.
And now, can children be depressed? Last year we have changes in routine of our children. Some of them have had to stop going to school or stop going to school every day. They miss their friends, and so many changes in their life. Their routine changed. And so this question came up: is it possible for a child to be depressed? And if that is possible, how do I, as a mother or as a father, recognize depression signs in my child?
Yes, so that's a very good question. So the answer to that is yes, children can be depressed. Depression it doesn't have any category of respect for people. So you can be rich, you can be poor, you can be a believer, a Christian, a non-believer, you can be whatever race or sex or, whatever it is. Depression can happen to anybody. And so your age does not, disqualify you from getting depressed. And like you rightly said, in the past year, our children have been affected tremendously because can you imagine we went from a day of activities, school, sports, events to guys, we're going to a virtual world.
Yes.
And when you think about it, our children were literally thrown into a space that they were very unfamiliar with. A lot of children, it's not maybe some places already were, had that hybrid going on where they had the virtual as well as in person. But for the most part, a lot of the children we know and we are aware of were thrown into a field where, it's just unprecedented for them. And so we found out that a lot of our kids were not, no longer sports. They were no longer able to interact with their friends. When you think about the younger adults or not adults, the adolescents who had like proms and junior nights and things, that all of this was taken away from them, like literally. So their way
Mhm.
of socializing, meeting up with friends, getting to talk, it all stripped from them like literally overnight. And so yes, we've seen significant rise in depression, anxiety, even suicidal thoughts with our young children. And so these, it's raised a lot of concerns. And when you think about it for a parent, I always say, as a parent, you know your child best. And I mean, if you don't, you want to make sure you settle in 2021 and know your children, because that's
Yeah.
also the thing that we're seeing, that our parents don't even know their children. So you want to
Mm.
know your children in the way that you can begin to identify, okay, John is always happy, he's helping his brother or sister, and all of a sudden John doesn't want to have anything to do with his brother or sister. He's arguing, he's very, very snappy. You talk to him and he doesn't engage with you like, oh, that was my son. If you need anything, just ask John, right? And John
Yeah.
doesn't want to interact anymore. He's isolating himself in his room. He's just on the computer or in his phone. And when you talk to him, he's just not who you think, he should be. And so these are like simple signs that you begin to notice. He becomes more irritable. He's isolating himself. He's no longer engaging in the way that he's used to, or maybe his grades are beginning to drop, or his teachers are beginning to make comments that it's everything going on or safe at home, is what's going on, right?
Mhm.
Things we begin to see as parents, you want, and that's why I say you have to know your children, right? So because you want to pick up on these subtle signs, they always start in a very subtle way. So you want to always, as a parent, be present. So you're paying attention to what's going on with your children, so that those subtle signs you can pick up on it before anything happens. Bring your kids down, say, let's have a discussion. What's going on? What's going on, John? Let's talk about it. Is there bullying going on in school? Are you stressed? What's going on with your grades? Is anyone, harassing you or threatening you in any way? Or what is going on? Are you feeling really nervous about the COVID or anxiety, or did we just lose a family member? Let's talk about our feelings, how to handle or cope with maybe loss of a family member or a grandparent, anything like that. So you want to begin to just have that sit down one-on-one, heart to heart conversation with your child, where you're talking about what's going on. How do you begin to move from, okay, I feel and I can see that John is struggling here, what do I do? As a parent, when you do all these things as far as talking to them, and
Mhm.
that you're not getting the kind of response you would hope to, this might be a time to pick up the phone, call your primary care doctor, the pediatrician, and ask for a referral to see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a mental health specialist, at this point in time, because sometimes you are not the best equipped as a parent to be able to identify some things. And again, some kids are not comfortable opening up completely to parents, and so they would rather speak to someone who has no clue and who's less likely to judge them, right? And they can
Mhm.
feel comfortable just sharing with them. And so these are kind of things we tend to see, and what you can do as a parent to begin to identify the differences. And you want to identify it early, because you don't want to be in a state where it's so late. And I mean, I said, anything is better than late. Later is,
Yeah.
always better than that, but kind of want to catch it early, because then
Yeah.
they can get the help that they do need, as opposed to something really drastic happening and then you're like, oh my goodness, how did I miss that sign?
Mm. Thank you so much. That's so really helpful. So we now know that children can be depressed as well as adults. And the best way for us to know is if we see a change in pattern in the interaction and the response to things. The easier way for us is to know our children, right? Just like you said, Dr. Tola, because you might have two kids and those two children might be different.
Yes.
One might be, one hyper, all going out and all that, and the other one might be, so quiet and, that. But you should be able to know, okay, this is going out of normal for child A, and know when to consult a psychiatrist or a mental health specialist to help you with that. Thank you so much. Now, you also talked about anxiety, but there's this question said, I used to think of anxiety, a little of anxiety is a positive thing.
Yes.
How do I know when I'm suffering from anxiety?
Yes, that's a very good question. So anxiety is your brain or body's response, right, to stress. Yes. And it can be triggered by multitude of things. So you can look at it, there are low levels of anxiety that keeps you alert and engaged, but high levels of anxiety can then begin to lead to clinical problems. So the way I picture it is, it's normal to be anxious. Like, for example, you have an exam coming up, so you're going to be anxious. But what that anxiety does to you, it drives you to go study. So you study for your exams, it comes and it goes, and the anxiety, you're relieved from it. Now, in a state where it stays perpetually, you're elevated. So that means the stress level is still high. You're not coming down, meaning you're not relaxing. Things are not coming back to normal the way you would expect to. You're constantly anxious. Every little thing, you're constantly worrying about it. You're thinking it over and over again. It begins to affect the way, life is. Then you're becoming exhausted because you realize that thinking a lot can get your mind mentally exhausted. Then you begin to have difficulties with concentration. You get irritable because you're just physically, mentally exhausted. Then you have like muscle tensions, sleep disturbances, restlessness, just that feeling like keyed up in any way. So these are some of the common things we see when we begin to talk about, we've moved from a state of normal anxiety to now a state of this is not normal. This is uncommon, right? This is not what we expect in any kind of situation. And so, yes, these are the kind of things you want to begin to think about. So am I worrying? I'm worrying about bills for tomorrow. Okay, good. But then tomorrow comes and things settle down and I'm okay. But if I'm constantly worrying every single day, oh, what are my children going to eat? Where are they going to sleep? I can't sleep tonight because I have to worry about this. You're in a high state of stress constantly. When I talk about stress a lot, I always talk about how we have cortisol, we have hormones in our body, and cortisol is one of it, which is essential for, when we talk about stress management and things of that nature. And in the mornings, we know that our cortisol level is elevated, and that gives that energy. You're able to, wake up in the morning, go to work, you're able to fire, present and do all those great things that you need to do for the day. Now, as the day continues to progress and we come to the evening time, your cortisol level typically comes down. That is a great thing. We want our cortisol level to come down.
Yes.
Stays elevated, then we begin to have all those physical manifestations where we're not able to sleep. Then we start getting high blood pressure. Then we start getting just mental stress, fatigue, and all of those things begin to come into play. And then you can get into a state of depression, anxiety. And so what we want when we have issues that, different presentations of situations that present to us, you want to be able to deal with it that day and that moment and not let it linger on, because once it lingers, it puts you in a state of perpetual anxiety, and then that becomes and results into a problem.
So thank you so much. So in the past 1 year, we've seen healthcare providers have been greatly affected mentally, with the fact that they have to be upfront, service with COVID-19 and all that. So, with your expertise in physician society, what trend have you noticed? Have you noticed a surge in the number of presentation from healthcare providers?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. First, we're dealing with physician burnout in the past year, and not just physicians alone. I think any healthcare professional, because we're all in this together. We all lean on each other. Everybody has their responsibility. Yeah. And so you see with the COVID, where hospitals were overflowing, people were on the floor. It was just and you were just seeing people die, like it, it's, I think one of the articles I read was like, it was just not, it didn't even feel like they were human beings any longer, and for me that was very disturbing, because these are lives, these are people who matter, who are loved, who are cherished by family, loved ones, friends, But with the
Yeah.
COVID, we saw that increased surge. People were just dying. People who were not even able to get onto the ventilators. The ICUs were overflowing. I mean, they had to come to a point where they said, you know what, if you're over this age, we'll make every attempt to kind of help you and rescue you and get you into the ICU. But if you were over a certain age, you were not considered to be priority. And to me, that's deep, because the essence of medicine is to do the best, right? And that's
Mhm.
the oath that we take, not to make harm in any way. But we were in unprecedented times again, and so we had to do unprecedented and unusual things. And so that in itself is a trauma that a lot of our mental healthcare professionals have had to endure. Where you see your colleague today and you don't see them again tomorrow.
Mhm.
It was just a constant thing, and all of a sudden you almost felt numb because of the way people were dying, at the rate at which they were dying. You were not able to feel or go through that grief, because you had to get up the next day to hopefully try and help another life that presented, or the many lives that presented to your facilities, your hospitals and things of that nature. And so what we're seeing is, I mean, we definitely had more couple of physician suicide that took place last year. Yeah, last year, especially the one with the doctor in New York, which was just very heartbreaking. Someone who got COVID, she was from the front line, she was the ER physician, and she recovered from COVID, but the stress, the trauma, whatever it
Mhm.
was, she was unable to handle that. And, she died by suicide. And so we've seen that. We've seen, and people who never had mental health issues before
Mhm.
pandemic, a significant rise. There's a lot of, just the trauma, again, you can just imagine seeing bodies, and I mean, I think we all watched the news. So we saw like
Yeah.
carrying bodies and just stacking them on each other at some point, because there was just not enough rooms. So these in itself are just very devastating, very impacting your mental state. And so that these are one of the things we've seen with our healthcare professionals. And so one of the things at my facility that we're doing is they've opened programs for like the nurses. We have for the nurses, and for the first time responders, they have like units where they have doctors can reach out, call just constantly 24/7 if you're having challenges. So we've done quite a bit to make sure that our healthcare professionals are getting the help for themselves. We always say like a psychiatrist or a mental health professional also needs a therapist.
Mhm.
It's not just the other way around, where it's just,
Yeah.
because we're all going through life together. I mean, pandemic came and it affected our worlds together. So everyone is going through one stress or another. People have lost people during this course. We've lost physicians, friends that we know as well, from COVID. And so we have to deal with it. We have to address the emotions, the grief, the loss, everything that comes along with it. So for a healthcare professional, it's definitely been a tough and challenging year for them, and I think just having avenues to be able to promote them and have them reach out and get this the help they need during this time, just to support, let them know that whatever they're going through, we're there to support them as companies, hospitals, professionals, is really the best that we can be doing at this time.
Thank you so much. You see why we're doing this at this time? Because we found out that mostly some people die not because of COVID, but they die from the effects of COVID. And
Yes.
we've seen so much effect from the mental health aspect of people. The COVID is the physical aspect of it, but the mental aspect of it is the depression that comes from it, this lingering sadness, the suicidal ideation, and all that. So this is why we have to talk about this right now, so that we all know that we need each other and we need help.
Yeah.
We all need a psychiatrist. We all need Dr. Tola. Whether you are a king or you are a physician or you are whoever you are, if you think you're seeing some of these symptoms, just talk to somebody, reach out, and then, make sure that you get help when
Yeah.
needed.
I always say, like, start with your primary care doctor. They can always get you a referral to see a mental health specialist. Send emails, DMs, to people that you trust that would help you get the help that you need. those are really good places to start. Never feel like you're alone. Never feel that there's no way of supporting yourself or getting help when you do need it.
Good, thank you. You said never felt that you're alone. And that brings that me to the next question. Most people feel alone. They feel like maybe I'm the only one feeling this way. And I don't want to say it out. I don't want people to look down on me. I don't want to be seen as not strong enough. Now, what do you have to say about that with stigma around mental health illness?
Yeah, so that's a very, very, very profound question and statement there. So when we talk about mental health, we say the essence of mental health is really connectedness, right? And we've seen, the pandemic has happened, and we've been forced to isolate ourselves.
Yeah.
And why, of course, part of it, we've seen a significant increase with, across the globe with mental health issues. And so when you're thinking about isolation, and we had to come up with creative ways, I must say, creative ways to kind of still connect with, whether it was virtually, FaceTime, WhatsApp videos, Zooms, I mean, like we're doing right now, so many ways and avenues to make sure that we're still connecting. So when we talk about isolation, it's a dangerous thing, because, the world was not built to be a lonely place. We were built to connect, built to reach out, built to feel, to touch. These are the things that breeds us as humans, and humanity as a whole, where we're able to understand another person's feelings, another person's struggles, and intercept at some point where our expertise can be utilized. And so that's kind of what we're seeing here. So with loneliness, a lot of times with people, and during this pandemic, one of the things I was doing a lot was making sure you're reaching out to your friends who are single, who live alone, to widows, anyone who you felt like just needed that extra help, especially our elderly folks, those who are not in nursing homes or things like that, making sure you were reaching out to them, just checking up on them. Even if you didn't physically see them, you were calling them on the phone. And sometimes we did drive-bys, right? People were doing drive-bys around communities just to say, hey, I thinking about you, loving you from afar, staying, socially distant and things of that nature. So those are the kind of things I believe that, that has helped in to some degree during this COVID as well. It's definitely been a challenge. It's been difficult. Again, when you think about there's just the stigma and with mental health has always been there. And what we're doing, and I think what COVID really has done is to kind of break that barrier, because now people who never had mental health issues, all of a sudden they're like, oh my goodness, is this what it feels like? Is this what my neighbor is going through? My friend, my brother, my sister, my loved one, is this what they're going through? So, I think part of breaking stigma, I always say it has to start from you as an individual. When you hear about it, make that commitment to yourself and say, today I refuse to be a judge, to be judgmental. I refuse to put anybody down because I don't know their journey. I don't know their story. I don't know what it is that has brought them here. I mean, I just heard a story of a young lady who was abused from the age of 13 to 16. Now she's grown up, she's got, multiple pregnancies and multiple children, and you want to go out there and judge her because now she's seeking help. You can't do that. You don't know anybody's journey. And so really want to be very compassionate and know that people have different challenges, and for whatever reason they need help. I mean, that is why we are here. We go to school for so many years just to be able to help our patients, those who are struggling with mental health cases and issues. And so make that commitment today. Let it start with you and say, I make that commitment to be the friend, to reach out to someone who I know is struggling and they're shy or they are nervous or they are whatever, embarrassed to reach out and say, I have this problem. When you see a friend, ask them, how are you doing? How is your mental health? Are you having challenges? Have you thought of wanting to hurt yourself before? Are you sleeping? We have to go above the how are you and stuff there. Because if you ask and you really want to know, you will know, right? Because the person will open up. But if you really don't want to know, then you stop there. So if you're a friend, make that commitment today that you're going to go the extra mile and help one person a day. I say help one person a day, which is, how are you doing today? How can I help you today? What are you going through? I mean, you might not have the answer, but you might know somebody who does, or being able to guide them to the right resources where they can get the help. That first commitment is the beginning of how we can begin to continue to break stigma with mental health. And so, yeah.
That is so awesome. I mean, you just make us, you just throw a pledge on us right there. Like I pledge to. No, I mean, I think it's very important for us as individuals to make that commitment. Like from today, I make a commitment not to be judgmental. Don't look at people from the side of what they're going through right now because you don't know their journey. That's exactly what Dr. Tola has told us today. We should let it start from us. Let it start from you as an individual. Make a commitment not to judge anyone. Make it easy for everyone to come out and talk about their mental issue. If I know that you won't judge me, I'll be able to tell you that, hey, Tola, do you know that I have a suicidal ideation? And then I'm sure that you will not look at me as, not being strong. So thank you for that. I think that is so very helpful.
Yeah.
Now, you said something when we were talking, you said something about um, mental health issue. It's not a respecter of person. It can affect anyone. And so growing up, we've heard that, mental illness is just something that you have to deal with spiritually. And you were here telling us that, we should seek help from psychiatrists and all that. But we learned that you have to deal with it spiritually, pray and then cast out demons and all that. So now I'm throwing it to you now, Tola, because you are a devoted Christian and you are a psychiatrist. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so that is a good question. Part of breaking stigma, we must break it. And I always say it also has to start from the pulpit. Our pastors, our religious leaders, they need to know that they have their strength, right? So if a member of the church comes to you and talks to you about depression, you can guide them in the spiritual sense because God he has given us the ability. He said he's given us power, dominion, authority, right? So you can impart into that individual that has come to meet you as a pastor or a believer or someone of that capacity, but at the same time you understand your limitations, that just because you say that doesn't mean that it's going to go away easily, right? Sometimes some people are not at that same level of faith, or to be able to channel that blessing in there. They just need that extra, and that's where we come in, right? We're always there. We always want you to know that you can always reach out to us. Proverbs 11 verse 14 says, where there is no guidance, of people fall, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. And so I always say that we need help on all fronts, not just on the spiritual, but also on the mental. And so as psychiatrists, we understand that everything in life is spiritual. So even though, yes, depression could be it's a spiritual element there that plays into a role, there are different ways and how we tackle it. So we can tackle it from the spiritual, but we also must tackle it from the physical, because at the end of the day, we live in a physical world. And so people need to understand that it's okay. It's okay to have Jesus and have a psychiatrist. It's okay to see Jesus. It's okay to get therapy. It's okay. I mean, why else would Jesus say that he's the greatest physician, right? He came here to help us. Guess what? He's imparted in us wisdom, understanding. Look at how science has revolutionized our world today. I mean, we had this COVID-19, and now we have vaccinations. God desires for us to have a solution to a problem. So he's given man wisdom. Now it depends on you. Are you going to be that man who is going to be make that impact in your generation or in your own field or area of assignment, right? And so for me, that's my assignment. My assignment is in the state of and space of mental health, to reach out to people. Do I pray for everybody? Probably not. But do I stay prayed up? Yes. Because I don't know who I'm going to meet every day. So whatever it is I do, I go there with the knowledge that God is the one backing me. Because medications can fail. You can take the medication and you can react to it negatively. And so sometimes I always tell people, pray that the doctor you see will align to the vision of what God wants for you, right? The medications you take will work for you, and it comes in different levels, because I always say, again, it all boils down to your level of faith, but don't over spiritualize things. Understand that even doctors are believers, right? And God has given them the wisdom. I say this, I always throw this question back to you, which is, if you had cancer, would you say that, and there was treatment available, which we know there is treatment for a lot of our, different kinds of cancers that we do aware of, would you not seek help for it? If you have your sugar level, you have diabetes and it's extremely high, would you just sit down there and say, well, God is going to save me? If your roof is leaking, are you going to let, the hurricane is coming? Are you going to fix your roof, or are you just going to let the flood come and just take away everything you have? The answer to that probably is no. You're going to go to the doctor. You're going to get the roofer, the plumber, carpenter, whatever it is you need to get done so that you get to a level of safety. Why are we thinking and why are we making mental health such an issue? Why are we doubting that, this is the same? It is, mental health is a disease. It's a disease of the mind. The Bible talks about renewing our mind. If your mind is not renewed, these are the kind of things we see. Why we say depression is a thief. It steals your joy, your happiness, everything that comes that is good and that God even intends for you. So these are the kind of things we see. So I say that it's okay to be a believer and have mental health issues. It doesn't stop people. We know great pastors and men of God who've had diabetes, hypertension, and they're living their life, right? You're doing what you need to do. So the same, goes to you. And so it's okay. We want you to continue to pray because you want to pray for the people that are even treating you. You'd never want to walk into the place where somebody who is not the right person comes and treats you and makes an error. And so that's why it's okay to understand that I can have an illness, but I can also have Jesus. Yeah.
Ooh, you just preached. I can't even say anything after that. I mean, you just preached. You rightly said, the Bible says in the abundance of counselors, there is safety. So it's okay to talk to your pastor or spiritual leaders about what you're going through, any trusted friend about what you're going through. It's very okay to pray about it. It's very okay to do the deliverance or whatever is set up in your belief. It's also very okay to seek a medical treatment, a medical counselor, after talking to your spiritual counselor, seek a medical counselor. And because we all work hand in hand. So don't base it basically on spirituality. Correct? That's what I'm getting from that.
Really?
And pray about it. It's okay to have Jesus. And you should also, reach out for medical help. It is okay to get medical help. And I know that, day in, day out, we have pastors that have understanding of this, that it is okay, that God has given wisdom to our medical practitioners. And, God is okay with us seeking, medical help from that. I know I have a pastor like that. So that's just, I can't even say more. You just preached, okay? Thank you very much for that. So now let's talk about loss of loved ones. In the past 1 year, I'm almost sure that almost everybody knows I've lost somebody. You either have lost a parent or a child, uncle, a close friend, and all that. And we are all being affected in different ways with this. Yeah. What's your advice with coping with loss?
Yeah, so that's a very tough area because, like you said, everyone, even if you don't know anyone, if it wasn't your family directly, you might have known someone at work or a friend of a friend who lost somebody during this pandemic. And so, first of all, you have to deal with it. You have to talk about it. It's okay to cry. It's okay to mourn. It's okay to be sad about it. It's okay. All of these things are part of the natural element. Even Jesus said he wept, when they told him that Lazarus died, right? And so it's okay to express all of those feelings. Now, the thing is, you don't want to stay there forever. And that's why we need a support, family support, loved one, community support that rallies around you and helps you through that difficult time and transition. You've lost a friend. What do you do now? You lost your husband, a child, a parent, whatever it is that you've lost, even there. And when we talk about loss, it's not just loss of a loved one. There's also the loss of a job.
Yeah.
Finances, like people lost their jobs, people lost their way of living, and it's, life just totally changed. And it just became really difficult for a lot of families, a lot of people all across the globe. And so what do you do in this kind of cases? Again, you don't stop where you are, meaning understand your limitations. When you've done all these things, and you're still in that place of despair, you want to begin to seek professional help. If you've spoken to family members, loved ones, and they help you as much as they can, because everybody has their limitations, then you want to take it a notch up and reach out to a mental health specialist, say, you know what, I need help doing this. And so one of the things we definitely recommend for grief is usually therapy. We do a lot of therapy, a lot of support therapy, for this counseling, just to help you go through and understand this. With grief, you want to first of all forgive yourself. You don't want to feel like it's your responsibility, which you call survivor's guilt. You don't want to ever take that ownership, like, oh, it was because of me, or if I had done this, or if I hadn't had gone. Doing that is not going to bring the person back. And so while even if it were true, right, it's not going to change the outcome. So why punish yourself through that? So the most important thing is understanding that you've done everything you can, forgive yourself for whatever challenges it is, and then reach out for help so that you can heal. Like I said, it's okay to cry. It's okay to go through all those emotions. But you mustn't stay there. You must come out of it. You mustn't stay in that place, because then that leads to a place. Then we now go from sadness, from loss, to depression, to thoughts of wanting to sleep and not wake up. And so that's that.
Wow. That's very helpful. Thank you so much. So in the past 1 year, like we've been saying, we've gone through a period of lockdown, shutdown, locked in, isolation and whatever. Now, things have started opening up, with the advent of the COVID vaccine, CDC and all, health agencies have started, releasing guidance to open up things. We're opening up schools. We've already opened up restaurants, and, life is coming back to normal. Now, how do we move on? Because yes, things are opening up, but are we opening up the way that we've been affected in different ways? Are we still locked in, or are we opening up? So how do we move on from here? How do we open up? How do we begin to look up?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So there's what we call the re-entry anxiety, to re-entry back into the community, re-entry back into life prior to the pandemic, is what we're seeing. So there is a lot of anxiety around that, regardless. And the first thing I'm going to say is focus on what is in your control. So things are opening up. What do? You're going to have to make a list. One of the things you want to do is the things that got you excited before the pandemic. Now, we've heard a lot of people say, oh gosh, I cannot wait to travel. That's like the first thing a lot of people I hear, like, I can't wait to travel and get out of all this staycation. I'm tired of it. I want to go somewhere. You want to write those things that excite you, little things like that. Going out to the restaurant, going out with your kids to the park, places that you have been, you were not able to do for the past year. Anything that kind of gives you like joy. Make a list of all these things that you would like to do again. Now, do you just jump in and say, this weekend I'm going all around the, no. We're going to start one at a time. Like, take it slowly. Just because things are opening up, because the CDC has given guidelines, doesn't mean that you're emotionally prepared for that. So you want to, yourself best. So what you want to do is, we're talking about some places now are allowing masks for you not to use your mask if you've been vaccinated. If you don't feel comfortable, not using your mask, continue to use your mask until you get there. And you can start slowly. Okay, well, I'm at home, I'm in my patio, I have a friend over, maybe one or two friends, I'm feeling comfortable taking off my mask. Sure. You want to kind of immerse yourself slowly, not just like, jumping right to the deep end. You don't want to do that. Accept the feelings that you're going through. These are, like we say again, these are just challenging times, and while, I think I personally says, well, the good thing about the mask is the kids have been less sick, there is no cold, all of that.
Yes.
So I'm not in any hurry personally to discard the mask. I know that eventually we'll get there, because that's what we want to. We want things to kind of go back to a state of normalcy where we feel safe. We want to hug our friends. We want to, just feel that warmth and touch, let them know that they're loved, they're thought about. So these are things we want to see. So stay informed with information. Don't ever disconnect. You always want to continue to hear as they're giving us guidelines, with everything going on. Accept that life may have changed quite a bit during this pandemic, and there's nothing you can do about it. So meaning there's some, the hybrid might just be here to stay for your school system, or even with your jobs, again, that job part could be a challenge because people have been, working from home. So they're so comfortable, just the fear of, even if you have to hop on a train, for example, you want to take that slowly, maybe one, speak to your employers about this, maybe like, for being at home all day for the past year, to start once a week. Maybe you get on the train, see how you feel working in from home the next couple of days, and gradually increase the pace. Like, okay, I'm going to work, I'm getting on the train twice a week, 3 times a week, to the point where I feel comfortable, or you're driving to work. These are things you want to do, and you want to start slowly, slowly, slowly. Don't feel like you have to rush with every guideline that is out there. You want to take it slowly, because what John and what Jane feels are totally different. What the challenges Jane faced are different from what John faced, especially if you're a healthcare professional. The things you've seen are so, different from somebody who is a teacher, so the things you've seen are totally different. So take things slowly, one step at a time. Reach out for help if you need to. Seek professional help. I always say that, seek professional help if you're not able to cope with, you just continue to feel this anxiety, like, oh my gosh, if I go to work, if I'm out in the public, I'm going to have COVID or have something else, or a new variant is going to come out and they're going to tell me this and that. So one step at a time, guys. I think that's the best thing you can do. But the first thing I would say is write down the things that you really love to do, that you've been hoping, anticipating when things return back to normal, because that will give you the excitement and push to say, you know what, I think I'm ready for this. And then start slowly. This weekend coming up, say I'm going to go to the beach, and I'm going to not use my mask for whatever period of time, and just gradually, kind of immerse yourself back into the things of our, activities of daily living.
Thank you so much. So first, write down the list of things that you've missed, write down, if, have you missed shopping? Have you missed, getting together with your friends? Have you missed, write the list down and take it one step at a time. We've been home for too long, home in quotes, for too long, and you don't expect everything to just come back and turn around within 24 hours. So let's take it one step at a time. So one time when you were talking, you talked about there are so many unhelpful ways of dealing with issues. And I know, we have alcohol consumption and recreational substances. How does one ensure he develop the most helpful coping strategy?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. Yeah, very good question. Because there are different challenges that arises. And so when we have those, the first thing I always say is journal. You want to journal. What are the challenges I'm going through? What are the difficulties that I'm facing right now? Go ahead and journal it, get a book. And I would say you can use your pen, you can use your pen and paper. That's always a good way for your thoughts to channel. You can get your phone in your notes section, just write out things that are just the stressful things that you're going through, and then begin to write things that you're grateful for, things that you would like to see change. Start from there. That is, first of all, the first way you think about it. Meditating. We talk about meditation, mindfulness. There's a way of kind of just getting the external out into the internal out to the external. In ways of coping with our emotions, what we're feeling. Those are ways. Then, of course, therapy. Therapy plays a significant role with ways of, healthy ways of coping with whatever the challenges might be. Because if you resort to like substances and recreational things, it takes in itself, it's like another, you have to battle another area of your life and with mental health challenges. And so these are the things you can be doing when you're going through, like, just in terms of trying to healthy ways of coping. Self-care, make sure you're taking care of yourself, be compassionate to yourself, where we tend to be really critical, self-critical, and very hard on ourselves a lot of times. So take care of yourself, be compassionate to yourself, give yourself a break. You don't have to be everybody's solution. So these are things you want to be doing for yourself. And then, of course, eating well, sleeping. I never joke with sleep. I tell people all the time, if you don't sleep for a period of time, you will end up in the hospital, whether it's from high blood pressure or from just the exhaustion, mental exhaustion that you might feel. So, we talk about that, eating healthy, exercising. These are all the ways of health, ways of coping in a healthy manner from whatever challenges that we go through. And of course, at the end of the day, if you've done everything and it's still not working, it's time to seek professional help.
Thank you so much. So you said it's time to seek professional help. So how do I know where to go? who to call, and how to go about it. Do you have any resources to share?
Yes. So I guess it starts with wherever you're located, whatever state you're in, whatever country you're in. I would say now with social media out there, it's so, it's an easier way of getting in. A lot of times reach out to you. I would say start with your primary care doctor because they're able to give you referrals to a mental health specialist, a therapist, whatever it is that you need at that time. So that's always the first place to start. You can go online. We call them NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Health, Mentally Ill Patients. And this is like for a family. It helps you, gives you more information with that. There is the hotline, suicide hotline. They're available you can text, open 24/7. They're able to text with you, chat with you, talk to you on the phone. If you just need to just talk to somebody, there's NYC Well. NYC is in New York. They just kind of have someone there who's available to you to talk to you on the phone. You're waking up in the middle of the night and you really are down and you don't feel like going to the hospital because you're sort of safe, but you need to talk to somebody. Go ahead and call them. And all of these resources, you can definitely go on my website, www.drtola.com, and you can get some of these resources there. Again, these are a lot of resources that are available here in the United States. I do have some more information if you go on my Instagram page and you can DM me. I can always, if it's in a certain places that I do have connections to, I can give you the resources based on where you're located.
Thank you so much. And we've been able to pin, some of the resources you gave, right there in comment section. I will also copy and paste some of these resources on Tribe O'Clock webpage. Feel free to reach out to Dr. Tola at www.drtola.com and check the website for resources. If you know you're going through any of the symptoms that we've listed, today, or more, you have a friend that is going through, please feel free to share the resources and call and seek professional help. That's very important. Well, like Dr. Tola rightly said, this is a whole course, and it's very, very difficult to go through everything that we have in mind to go through within 1 hour. So at this time, we will try to round up. If you have any other question, you can, send an email to me or send in your question to Tribe O'Clock webpage, and I will get it through Dr. Tola to answer that for you. Or you can reach out to Dr. Tola herself. We already pinned her Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter handle, and you already know her website. So reach out to her. Make sure you and your loved one get help when needed. Thank you for attending this. Thank you, Dr. Tola, for coming. And before we let you go, do you have a parting word for us? Is there something you need to, tell the viewers?
Yeah, so the first thing I say is, the fact that you've made that commitment today, the next thing to tell yourself is your mental illness does not define you. You're more than this, you're bigger than this. And, these are positive affirmations, positive mantras I want you to hold on to. Your struggles does not define who you are. This is just a stepping stone, around to where your goal is in life. And so just make sure you always seek help. Never wait till, things are, whatever it is. We don't want you to ever wait to the point where it's irreversible at that point in time. We want you to seek help early. Thank you so much for having me. This has definitely been a great talk.
Thank you so much for coming. So viewers, thanks for joining. And those that will be listening to us after now, thank you for joining. I hope you have a great help with your mental issue, as we are all, trying to get help from our mental issues as well. So make sure you reach out, know, and remember that your mental issue does not define you. I like that. It does not state who you are. So once you know you're going through something, seek help. Thanks for joining us. Again, this is Tribe O'Clock, and my name is Seun Aluko. Till we meet again, next topic, please like our page so that you will know when our next topic is coming on, and then it will be delightful to have you with us. Thanks for Dr. Tola. God bless.